All right, let's see if everything is working clearly over here. Drop down our background volume a little bit, and let's adjust our backgrounds. There we go. Looking at Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. We're building subclasses today. Let's see, we're going to work here. We're going to work inside of the playtest document that we have linked here, Spelljammer Subclasses. It's going to be a read-only document for you guys, but this is the document that we're going to be working inside of today. And we'll be at this for maybe an hour or so today. If you think this stuff is cool, or you want to see more, as well as artwork in the mornings, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. Here's a bunch of books we've already created on the DMsGuild that all have free previews, as well as the actual Spelljammer and Combat and Exploration document that we produced here on DMsGuild. It has a free preview, and if you decide to purchase it, it's got all the assets that you need for Lattice Araxis, ship tokens, creature tokens, map building tools for wild space systems. A whole bunch of bells and whistles for you guys to grab a hold of. So you can check that stuff out if you're interested. For the time being, we are working here in the... I should probably check my signal here to make sure that I'm coming through okay. Yeah, that sounds really good. So we'll do that. So, okay, great. So that's where we're at. I'm going to drop this window down here. And I've got an hour, a little less than an hour, so I've got a timer ticking down for us. And so we worked on the Artificer Siege Engineer last week, or rather on Tuesday this week. And this is, so we're going to be working on the Barbarian and the Bard today. These are subclasses that we built out previously, but I've done a lot of work in 5e24 and have been DMing some mega dungeons and spacefaring campaign stuff here for the past like 9 months or whatever since it was released. So, to continue forward then, Barbarian, Path of the Raging Pilot. We're looking at channel your rage into your ship weapon attacks. So, channel your rage into channel your rage into piloting your ship. Let's go with that. So 3rd level Ironclad. While raging as a pilot, both you and your ship gain resistance to BPS damage, which is bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage, and you can use your Reckless Attack feature, gaining advantage on melee ship attacks you make while piloting, and enemies have advantage against attacking your ship until the beginning of your next turn. So, again, with the mechanics that we use for piloting, we allow anybody to pilot. Multiple features. Let's see, at any time you can see and hear maximum spell-generating ships. Where is the wording? So the Spelljammer is usually a chair you can sit in, podium, while on within 5 feet as detailed. Combat Exploration chapters below. At any time, you can see what's happening around deck. Multiple creatures, helms and orreries. Here we go. Focus. So the original Spelljammer requires characters to attune to spelljamming helms that prevent characters from spontaneously jumping onto by forcing creatures to attune to a helm and to be a spellcaster. That cuts out a number of classes. It's a feat tax for any marshal to get spellcasting built into their character. And feat tax is, if you're not a caster, feats are really important. So we wanted to strip away the cost of being able to be a pilot. So anyone can be a pilot by maintaining focus. So instead of having to spend an hour to attune, we now, for example, creatures to focus on devices. For example, in Ori Station, the Spelljamming Helm Eldritch Cannons require focus instead of attunement. So to remain focused on a device, you must always occupy the same space or be within 5 feet of a device, but there's no limit to how many devices a creature can focus on while within range of each. And you use either an action or a bonus action to attune to each, to focus on each device that you would be using. And you can focus while maintaining concentration, and if a creature must make a saving throw that affects both, one roll determines if both concentration and focus are maintained or lost. Class features such as a Barbarian's Rage that prevent maintaining concentration don't prevent focusing. Otherwise, focus follows the exact same rules as concentration. So this allows any character to, as an action or bonus action, while within reach of a helm, to become the pilot. And we allow for multiple characters to pilot together, as long as it's one at a time. There is a pilot duel that happens if someone is trying to usurp control of one helm by installing another, and it's basically just it's an opposed ability check to overcome whoever would then rule, and whoever lost the fight gets stunned and cannot focus. But otherwise, any character is able to focus on a spelljamming helm to be able to pilot them. So having established that the Barbarian path of the Raging Pilot, you can channel your rage into piloting your ship. So while raging as a pilot, both you and your ship gain resistance to a Barbarian, of course. Normally, when they're using trip over here to the Barbarian, while raging, rage. You can enter a rage. Damage reduction. You have resistance to BPS damage. And strength advantage. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. Reckless attack is what we're looking at. You can throw aside all concern for defense to attack with increased ferocity. When you make your first attack roll on your turn, you can decide to attack recklessly. Doing so gives you advantage on attack rolls using strength until the start of your next turn, but attacks rolls against you have advantage during that time. So hey, what's going on, Hernandico? It's good to see you, my guy. So this subclass here for the Barbarian, the third level, so you get the damage reduction while you rage at first level. You gain reckless attack at second level, and when you take on Path of the Raging Pilot at third level, you become Ironclad, which is while raging as a pilot, both you and your ship gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. And you can use your reckless attack feature, gaining advantage on melee ship attacks you make while piloting, and enemies have advantage against attacking your ship until the beginning of your next turn. That doesn't include any specific crew members aboard the ship. It's just attacking the ship itself. And if we're looking at the, here, let's go down to ship rolls in the combat section. So you have the piloting roll, which is moving and attacking with ship melee weapons. So while you're piloting, you can use an object interaction to move the ship, kind of like walking, but you can't walk while you're sitting at a helm. So currently doing some game prep. Nice, man. Nice. Glad to hear it. So you can't move while you're on the helm, so your movement then gets allocated to the ship. But instead of like actually using your movement, we're using the object interaction feature of your character's action economy to effectively move. So you'd be able to, in one round of combat, be able to walk up to the helm, use a bonus action to focus on that helm, and now you have an action and an object interaction left. You could then use that interaction to move the ship, and then use your action to make, say, ship melee attacks. So different types of ships have weapons. For example, if we're going to scroll down here and look at the different types of ships that are pre-built for Spelljammer's Adventures in Space, we see like here's a bunch of ships like the Night Spider here. It's got all these little tally marks for the different weapon systems that exist on the ship already. We see number C and 2. So C is a grappling claw. Number 2 is a piercing ram. So these are, each of these legs can act as piercing, like spear attacks. And the mandibles themselves are like grappling claws, similar to the Scorpion ship over here. This has grappling claws as well. So these grappling claws and these mandibles of the Night Spider are essentially the same sort of weapon. They're melee attack weapons. So a pilot can use the attack actions Like a Barbarian at 5th level has 2 attacks. So the Raging Pilot would be able to make 2 attacks while piloting the ship with whatever weapons that ship has built into it. And if a ship doesn't have any weapons built in, you can still ram with your ship, but that typically incurs damage to you both. Just to further emphasize here real quick, to see the value that we're having in Raging, let's go back to the ship rules. Hold on real quick. It's quicker to go click here. Ship rolls, taking damage for the ship. So when a ship takes damage, you can choose to use the pilot's hit points to shield the ship from taking some or all the damage dealt to it. While focusing and not surprised, choose how much damage to take for the ship. We're probably going to end up changing that language because of 5e24, but we're going to be working on translating the combat chapter of this on Monday next week, Monday night. So, but for now, while focusing and not surprised, choose how much damage to take for the ship. Damage taken this way can be reduced by any resistances and other effects such as warding, bond, spell, and can be healed as normal. Taking damage for the ship forces you to make a Constitution saving throw to maintain focus, as detailed in the focus sidebar that we talked about above, and you can't reduce your own hit points below 0 this way. Subtract any remaining damage from the ship's damage reduction score to determine how much damage is taken by the ship. So let's use an example here. We have listed, and then we'll see how this affects the Raging Pilot. So, for example, a creature with 65 hit points is piloting a space galleon with 260 hit points and 10 damage reduction from it's made of light material. Light material has a 10 damage reduction. So, if a trebuchet hits the ship for 70 bludgeoning damage, the pilot can choose to take 20 damage, reducing its hit points to 45. A creature with 65 hit points, there you go, takes 20 points of damage, leaves them with 45 hit points. The remaining 50 damage is reduced by 10 points because of the damage reduction of the ship, and thus dealing 40 points of damage to the ship. And since it had 260 hit points, it's been reduced to 220. But Raging Pilot is both you and your ship gain resistance to BPS damage. So when that trebuchet hits with bludgeoning damage, our creature with 65 hit points, if it's a Raging Barbarian, if you choose to take 20 damage because of damage reduction, because of the resistance, you'll only take 10 points of damage and you have 55 left instead of 45. And because there was those 70 bludgeoning points, 20 were taken by the Barbarian, 50 points remains, 10 of it is absorbed by the damage reduction of the ship's materials and armor. That means that it would normally be dealt 40 points, but because the Barbarian is raging, the ship attacks when making a piloting check, has advantage while piloting. While raging as a pilot, both you and your ship gain resistance to BPS. So that 40 damage would be reduced to 20. Your ship then would have 240 hit points left. So, and when there's 70 points of damage coming in from a single trebuchet, because a trebuchet can do up to 80 damage per shot. A ballista can do up to 40 damage per shot. Even with damage reduction, you're going to whittle down your ship's hit points very quickly. It's effectively like having 26 hit points when something's dealing D8 or 2D6 or like 3D4s per damage per round. Your ship is going to get wrecked really quickly. You'll find that using the system, your characters are going to want to take damage for the ship to shield it, to keep it going, and then have your team expend spell slots and resources and lay on hands and stuff to keep the pilot healed so that the pilot can keep taking hits for the ship so that the ship isn't destroyed. And basically, 80's nice video games. Yeah, right on, man. I've started prepping a game that blends Hyrule with Mushroom King. Oh, that's super fun, man. Awesome. Okay, so the Raging Pilot, and then when you take that damage, you make a Constitution saving throw, and as long as you get 10 or above in this example, your Barbarian would be able to retain focus and control of the ship. If you fail it, then the pilot loses concentration, or loses focus on the helm, and the ship basically is unshielded until somebody else steps in, uses an action or a bonus action to take control of the helm, to put shields up again so they can use their hit points to take damage. Otherwise, the ship is going to take all the damage, and with no one piloting, there's no way to mitigate that damage. So once the Barbarian stops piloting because they, like say, lose focus, that rage bonus no longer helps them. So that's good tanking. Your barbarian becomes a very strong tanker for your ship to keep it going. Like spell casting as a spellcaster for Spelljammer is the default that Wizards presents, and as well as from second edition. But by opening it up to allowing any class be able to be a pilot, you can create interesting interactions and new mechanics that lets characters lean into their role while they're piloting, as well as on foot delving dungeons and stuff. So 6th level, Resilient Pilot. If you fail a saving throw as a pilot while you're raging, you can re-roll it, and you must use the new roll. You can use this ability only once per rage, but of course you gain more rages as you gain levels, so that becomes something you can spawn. And that saving throw is also, you make a saving throw to retain focus. So if you take a big hit and you fail your focus save, then you can re-roll it, potentially turning that failure into success. Brutal Piloting, level 10. When using Reckless Attack, you can forgo advantage on one ship melee attack on your turn. The chosen attack must not have advantage on the attack. If the chosen attack hits, it's considered to be a critical hit. So once per round, if you forgo your advantage, you can deal double damage with your weapon, except for slashing rams. Slashing rams, specifically while ramming, deal triple damage when they hit. Most weapons deal double damage when they hit, but the different types of rams that exist inside of the system, and let's just go ahead and take a look at that real quick. Let's go back up to our table of contents here. Combat, weapons and crew, ship melee weapons, mounted weapons, ship melee weapons, grappling claws, grappling tentacles, rams, bludgeoning rams. So there's 3 types of rams. There's bludgeoning rams, there's piercing rams, and there's slashing rams. So bludgeoning rams are what you would expect, just basically a giant hammer on the front end of your ship that you ram into things with and damage them. Piercing ram also sounds like what it sounds like. Going back to the Theurgy, these legs are spears. So massive, like this is a 50-foot square. That's a 50-foot long spear, and it's probably 5 feet thick. That is basically just punching holes through a ship. And then slashing rams, which we can see on the front end of this Star Moth of the elves, as well as the edges of this goblin arrow ship are basically sharpened blades. For further reference, if we look at the book cover here, basically it's basically like a giant scimitar blade on the prow of the Star Moth ship. So it can come in and it can just literally cut into you. So all ships, even if a ship doesn't have a melee, have a ram, it still could potentially have other melee attacks, such as just simply ramming into another ship. But while we are using these rams, they can just act as normal melee weapons. When a pilot hits with a ram attack using a bludgeoning ram, roll the damage dice twice. So if you rams, a ram is a general term for ship melee weapons that can also be used to make a ram attack, dealing BPS. In addition to making ship melee attacks, rams have the following properties when used in a ram attack. Slashing. When a pilot hits with a ram attack using a slashing ram, roll the weapon damage 3 times instead of twice and add them together. And that is the effect, basically the effect of a critical hit with these slashing weapons. If you're using a ram, you have to move at least 2 squares worth of movement. That would be 1,000 feet of movement at the for the vessel, or 50 feet, 100 feet of movement for a fighter craft that's 50 feet or smaller in size. And so when you do a ram attack with bludgeoning, you deal double damage, and you scuttle, which is the pilot has to make a dexterity saving throw, and if they fail, everyone on the ship gets knocked off kilter, and your gravity plane gets shifted because of the other ship that's hitting you, forces your gravity plane to shift. So that causes everyone aboard the ship to get thrown around inside the deck. And so the amount of damage that you take when you're being scuttled, it's like falling damage. and you take D6 damage for every 50 feet of space that your ship occupies. So a hammerhead ship here is 250 feet long, so that's 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. Everyone would take, if a hammerhead ship gets scuttled, and a hammerhead is a big ship, so it gets the pilot. If the ship is bigger than the attacker, the pilot gets advantage on their saving throw. If the ship is smaller in size than the attacker, the pilot has disadvantage on their saving throw. So the bigger the ship, the more likely it is for you to avoid being scuttled. But if you do get scuttled, everyone aboard the ship is going to take 5d6 damage. So your pilot is going to want to succeed that scuttle check saving throw. And for fighter craft that are smaller than 50 feet in size, it rounds up. So if this craft gets scuttled, you only take d6 falling damage as a result of it. And then of course you can save for half damage. But this makes the saving throw that the resilient pilot gets. If you fail a saving throw as a pilot while you're raging, you can re-roll it, and you must use the new roll. So this could save you from getting scuttled, but you have to you get scuttled, and you potentially lose your focus as well. If you get scuttled, you're going to get knocked out of your chair, and you're going to lose focus anyway. So making the save against scuttling is going to save you from basically damaging everyone aboard your ship. It's not so much just you as a pilot, it's also your crew member that you have to worry about being damaged as well, which if you're in command of a crew of NPCs that are like overseeing like firing a trebuchet, the commander, we'll get into the rules of that on Monday night when we work through the 2024 revisions for combat, but the commanding character can take damage for the crew as well. So if everyone would take 5d6 damage from being scuttled, the commander of that weapon crew would take damage, but you could also choose to take that damage again to protect your crew from taking any damage at all. So high-level characters in Spelljammer can get threatened very quickly if you throw a couple different ships at them and force you to take actions to protect your crew. Because if you lose your crew, your weapons slow down their firing rate because of all the action economy you have to use to load, reload, aim, and fire a weapon. You have to have your crew aboard. And if they keep getting wiped out from incidental damage, then you're basically wrecking your action economy and making you less effective to fight, even if you're like 12th, 15th level. So, brutal piloting, back at that. When you use reckless attack, you can crit automatically with your ship melee weapon attacks. And then unwavering focus while raging. When you make a saving throw as a pilot to remain focused or to avoid inertia shock, you roll with advantage. In addition, saving throw as a pilot to remain focused, specifically focused and inertia shock. You could choose to re-roll if you need to as a resilient pilot, but you'll always have advantage on your saving throw. Inertia shock is when you try to change your speed too quickly, because you can go anywhere from hovering still in space to moving 5 feet, like your movement speed, your base movement speed, while you are... let's go back to the front end here. While you're piloting a ship, scrolling down here, you can move. The scale of movement that you can move can, like, these are like you see this, like the Star Moth is 200 feet long, but it's fitting inside one square. This is a 500-foot square, as opposed to this is a 50-foot square. So you can change the scale of your map depending on what you're maneuvering and what kind of creatures and ships you're interacting with. So at the 500-foot, but regardless, you get 5 squares of movement with every move action, unless something like a spell or an ability allows you to increase your speed. Your base speed in a ship is 5 squares, but your pilot can calibrate what scale those 5 squares are. So I could hover and be at a standstill and not move at all, and then decide to move at the 5-foot scale to just kind of creep along the ground, or I could move up to 1,000 mile squares. So anywhere from 5-foot squares, 5 foot here. Let's scroll up to the scale table here to see the significance of this. Here's your different scales. 5-foot scale, 50-foot scale, 500-foot scale, 5,000-foot scale, which is effectively a mile. and then 10 miles, 100 miles, and then 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles, you can do 1,000 miles. The maximum speed that a major helm can do is 100 million miles per day, which roughly translates into 10 million miles per every 2 hours, or roughly 5 million miles per hour, which means about 1 million miles for every 10 minutes, or 100,000 miles every minute. And since a round, there's 10 rounds per minute, you can effectively fly at 10,000 miles per round. So at the fastest speed your ship can move, you can move 10 squares at the 1,000 mile scale. And so if we're if this is the 1,000, this could be a 500 foot scale. This could be 1,000 miles scale. Your ship is occupying 1 square, and when you move 1 square, if you're moving at major helm speed of 10,000 miles per round, 1 square, you get 5 squares of movement. So your normal movement is up to 5,000 miles, and then if you use the dash action, you get another 5 squares, which takes you up to 10,000 miles per round of maximum speed movement. If you go from stand still at the 5 foot scale and warp up to 10,000 miles per round, that's 7 degrees of ramp. So the amount of inertia that goes with basically going from 0 to 1,000,000 in 1 second, you're going to be peeling your face back from the momentum, and that creates inertia shock. So inertia shock is a means of testing your character's ability to not black themselves out in the process. So let's go find, here's focus. Let's go find inertia shock real quick. Inertia shock. Attempting to shift scale by more than 1 magnitude during move. Like if I'm standing still, I could go up to 50 movement, part of that move speed, without instigating shock. I could go from 0 to 10,000 miles in a round if I wanted to, but I risk inertia shock. So make a Constitution saving throw against DC is 20 plus 1 for each scale of magnitude shifted as listed above. So this is standing still, 5 foot scale, and then to ramp up to 1,000 mile scale to move 10,000 miles in a round. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of scale that I'm shifting during one movement. So that'd be DC 20 plus 6. I'd have to make a Constitution saving throw DC 26 to not shock my character because of the amount of momentum that's going. And if I get shocked, the Spelljamming helm is disabled, you lose focus, and you're stunned until the beginning of your next turn. In addition, the ship is scuttled, which we just talked about. So if you shift scale from moving from the 5 foot scale to 1,000 miles, or in the opposite direction, from going 10,000 miles per round to a standstill, just immediately hit the brakes. You could literally throw everyone forward and bang all their faces on the prow of the deck, dealing however much damage the size of your ship is. But to prevent that from happening, the pilot makes a save for the entire ship. And if the pilot fails, they're stunned, so they're automatically going to fail their saving throw against scuttling, and they're going to automatically take the damage and get thrown out of their chair. So, hey, Steve, it's good to see you. So when we're looking at the unwavering focus, you automatically have advantage on your saving throw to avoid inertia shock, and as well as maintaining focus, like if you take damage. And then in addition, whenever you fail a saving throw, as a reaction, you can expend a resting hit dice and roll it, adding a number to the result, potentially changing a failure into a success. So you get a free reroll once per rage at 6th level, and by the time you get to 14th level, you automatically roll with advantage on focus and inertia shock, and you can spend resting hit dice to reroll your saving throw as well. So you get a stack of free rerolls off of your hit dice, and then you get one per, and then you could choose to rage again to get another free use of a reroll. So this character is all about piloting and then mitigating the risk of piloting to reduce the damage that you take and to avoid losing control of your ship or losing focus or causing damage to your crew aboard ship, like say when getting scuttled or grappled. So that's the path of the Raging Barbarian. That's pretty cool. Let's see. So that's pretty straightforward. It's a concise class. We get to use all the new tools and toys that the 5e24 Barbarian gets access to. I'm pretty happy with how that subclass sits. We're waiting till December for the Artificer book to be released to make sure that the formatting and all the mechanics that we've seen in Unearthed Arcana remain true for the new 2024 Artificer. And once we do, we worked on this on Tuesday. But our goal here is to finish all this content in this last pass through, so that once we get that go ahead in December with the Artificer, we can start building out the book. And by then we'll have finished rebuilding the actual Spelljammer book that we published. It'll be updated for 2024. So we'll have this updated with 2024 rules, and then we'll be able to follow it up with this subclass book. So the idea would be to have a book of, we probably won't see the Scion anytime soon. So presumably it'll just be the 13 classes that currently exist in the core 12 plus Artificer, and then we'll feed in the Scion as probably as a pay what you want add-on, or maybe we'll just add on another page or two to this document once they get published, assuming that they follow through with the Scion in the first place. We'll see how that goes. But Artificer looks good. I'm really happy with how the Barbarian sits. I'm actually pretty happy with the language that's being used here as well. So I'm getting pretty good at 5e24 formatting for characters. I've been hammering away at it for quite some time with the different language and the upgrades that they have. So far so good. Let's go. Let's take a step back and dip into Bard. And so let's check out what cool stuff happens for the Bard. College of Command. Inspire your crew in battle. Easy enough. Third rank, third level. Exceptional leadership. So when you make a command check, okay, and just to again, this is as much an opportunity for us to brag about the mechanics of how the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration works, as much as it is about building characters that lean into those mechanics. So let's look at the ship rolls again. Ship rolls. Here we go. So now we're looking at the Siege Commander and the Squadron Commander options. Siege Commander and Squadron Commander roles. So in brief, when we were looking at the pilot, while you're acting as a pilot, your object interaction moves the ship. You can use various actions, including the attack action for multiple attacks with melee weapons that are built into the ship. You can also take the defend action, disengage, hide. Defend is like giving yourself a bonus to your armor class, kind of like giving yourself cover. Disengage sounds like it sounds. Hide sounds like it sounds. Move the ship is essentially the dash action. And then ready action sounds like it sounds. The bonus action, you can also attack, you can also defend, which again is ramping up your armor class. Giving yourself advantage, or rather giving everyone disadvantage to attack you, proved to be too strong because we couldn't figure out how would I give you disadvantage to attack the ship without giving everyone aboard the ship. If I'm causing the ship to dodge, that would imply if I'm trying to hit one particular character on deck of the ship, that would also gain advantage. Rather, you would also be at disadvantage to attack them, or any of the siege machinery that's on your ship. And that proved to be basically, instead of me attacking me, is at disadvantage. Now it's I take the disadvantage. I take the dodge action, and now everyone on my team has disadvantage to attack them, and we couldn't figure our way around that. So we just decided that, well, we should just get rid of dodge and instead replace it with a static plus bonus, kind of like a shield spell, instead of disadvantage, because giving a small bonus to your armor class is not as powerful as giving disadvantage on anyone that would attack anybody aboard your ship. So that's where the defend action came from. And then as a bonus action, when you attack, you can ram, which we talked about earlier. Also, when you hit with an attack, you can attempt to scuttle, which we also looked at earlier. In the bludgeoning rams, if you hit with a ram attack, it automatically scuttles. And then you have your reaction, which is deflect, which is to basically pit your pilot skill against the attack roll to convert an attack into a miss. And pacing, we haven't looked at pacing during the series right now, but pacing is when a ship tries to yeet away from you. We were talking about inertia earlier, how you could go from hovering or at the 5-foot scale to the 1,000 miles scale and move 5 squares as one action. If a target is capable of actually hitting that mark, you're going to be 5,000 miles away before, or even 10,000 miles away before whoever you were fighting can comprehend what was happening. So we needed a way to be able to keep keep ships within scale of each other, because you can only realistically make ranged attacks like with ballistas and siege weapons like that against other targets within a mile. Like that seems to be about the most realistic distance that you can expect to lob a stone at something through space to hit something else with any kind of reliability. Anything beyond a mile it's basically they're gonna the phrase is called, you can see it coming from a mile away, which basically means you can just automatically sidestep. It automatically misses if they are aware of your attack and they're capable of moving. If they're more than a mile away, you will automatically miss. So if I can go from being adjacent to you and exchanging bow fire with you, and then my pilot just decides to yeet out of there, now I'm 10,000 miles away, how am I supposed to attack you? Well, you can take the pace reaction, which is if that ship moves, I move with them. So you maintain relative position to them because your pilot is readying to be able to pursue that ship if it tries to escape. And if they happen to use inertia and they pop it and they succeed in getting away, if you want to pace them, you're also going to have to make an inertia check. Otherwise, you could just stall yourself out because it's too much to ask of your pilot to hit that mark. But pacing is a way for you to stay, like when space is empty and infinite, the only distance that matters is your relative distance to whatever you're targeting. If there was an asteroid that you were defending, your proximity to that asteroid would matter. But if you're just flying through space and there's nothing out there other than you and another ship, you two are just dancing in an endless void. So the only thing that really matters is how far are you away from each other. So pacing is a way for you to maintain that relative distance that you already have established, even though you're moving at 100 million miles per day. So pacing. And then opportunity attacks. It works like it is. Like if a pilot tries to yeet away from me, instead of pacing them, I could attempt an opportunity attack against them. And if I were to succeed, perhaps I could scuttle them or grapple them. I can make an attack action that way. When we update the 5e24 rules, we'll have to add in language that instead of making an attack with a weapon, if you have a weapon that's capable of doing it, you could choose to scuttle or grapple without dealing any damage. Just like you can push and trip and grapple as a combat action to replace an attack, we'll be able to do that with our ships since the 5e24 language changed that. That's an example of a change that's happened that we're going to have to incorporate into this new document. So those are the different things you can do as a pilot, but as a siege commander, it's different because you command a crew of NPCs to basically load and fire weapons on your behalf. So the command check is many actions a siege and squadron commander can take requires a command check. When making a command check, roll 1d20 plus the command die plus your rank. And your rank is determined, basically it's basically your proficiency bonuses, right? Level 1 to 4, you're rank 1. 5 to 8, you're rank 2. 9 to 12, you're rank 3. 13 to 16, you're rank 4. 17 to 20, you're rank 5. And your proficiency bonus would be plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, plus 6. But instead of having ability check and proficiency bonus, you have your rank, 1 to 5, which aligns basically with what your ability scores might be. And then you have your command die, which is the proficiency die variant rule from the 2014 DMG, which is a D4 at first level, D6 at second, D8, D10, D12. So I roll a D20, I make my proficiency die plus my rank determined by my level. But this also, that rank is universal. So a creature up to first CR1 is considered first rank. Anything that's CR 14 or higher is considered fifth rank. So NPCs, monsters, and characters all use the same stat system of comparable power while they're piloting. So when you're doing XP and figuring out the value of combat, if you're using an XP table, regardless of the ships, the creatures that are piloting and manning your enemy vessels, that's the CR that you're actually worried about. If your 17th level crew runs across a rank 1 goblin turtle ship, you're going to kick the fuck out of that turtle ship, even though that turtle can tank as much damage as, say, your your wasp ship could take. Even though they have comparable amount of hit points, your goblins on that turtle are performing at are so much less powerful than your characters commanding the ship at 17th level that the experience points remain equivalent. So it would be like the amount of experience points that you would get for defeating a squad of 20 goblins on a turtle ship would be completely irrelevant to a 17th level team commanding their own ship. You'll basically stomp those goblins and take their ship from you. Hey, you have 2 ships now. Congratulations. But if you run across a ship full of Rakshasa and Yanti that are like 15 Yanti and 3 Rakshasa, now you've got something that could potentially be a threat to your 17th level characters. And so they'll get the experience points that they deserve for that. So, but that's the basic rules of command checks. So when we're looking at the Bard, exceptional leadership, when you make a command check, and you use these command checks to make attack rolls. Sorry, when you order your crew to load, aim, and fire a siege weapon, or when you command a squadron of ships to move and attack a target, you're using your command. You're making a command check to determine if you successfully hit or not, for example. Or if you're performing a maneuver, you'll use your command action to perform that maneuver as an ability check using the command die roll instead of your normal dexterity bonus, for instance. So command checks are what you use instead of attack rolls and ability checks when you're commanding crews of siege crew or squadrons and fleets of ships. So, College of Command. Exceptional leadership. When you make a command check, D20 plus your rank plus your command die equals result. You can use your own bardic inspiration die instead of your command die. So at, what is this, level 3? Let's look at the Bard. At level 3, your bardic die is a D6. So we'll probably have to change that language from inspiration die to bardic die. But we just saw here at first level, at third level, when you get this class, you're using a D4. So your bardic inspiration die, when you spend that inspiration die, you'll be rolling a D6 instead of a D4. And where'd I go? There. When you make a command check, you can use your inspiration die instead of your command die. Not spend your inspiration die, you can just use your inspiration die. So you're automatically rolling a D6 instead of a D4. So, for example, a third level Bard of the College of Command can roll D6 instead of D4 when making a command check. And a 15th level, you can roll D12 instead of D10. Using this feature doesn't expend any inspiration dice. So now we'll have to any bardic. You can use your bardic die. That's the language that we use now, bardic die. Is that right? Yeah, bardic die. When you make a command check, you can use your bardic die instead of your command die. For example, third blah, blah, can use a D6 instead of D4, instead of blah, blah, blah. Using this feature doesn't expend any bardic dice. There. 6th level Inspiring Commander. When you make a command check, you can spend an inspiration die and add the number rolled to the result. In addition, the reload score of the siege weapon is compared to the result of both the command die and the inspiration die. If either result is equal to or greater than the reload score, the crew successfully reloads the weapon and is ready to fire with the next command. So just to revisit what reload scores are, you can make multiple attacks per round as a commander. If I'm a 5th level fighter, I can issue 2 attack commands per round, or rather during my turn, as well as like as an opportunity attack if a weapon is readied. So reloading, commanding multiple weapons, modifying reload scores. Here we go. Reloading ranged ship weapons. So siege weapons take multiple actions to aim, fire, and reload, together called a reload score. The number of actions required to efficiently operate a siege weapon is equal to the reload score, which is also the number of creatures that can crew the machine as a team. When a commander makes a command check to attack with a siege weapon, the result of rolling the command die is compared to the reload score. If the result is equal to or higher than the weapon's score, the crew reloads the weapon as part of that attack, ready to fire again on the next command. So if my fighter has 2 attacks this round and I'm commanding a siege crew to fire a siege weapon, if my command die, when I roll my attack roll, if my command die is equal to the reload score or higher, they automatically reload the weapon as part of that attack action. I can now issue a second command during that same turn to have them fire the weapon again. If the result is equal to or higher than the weapon's score, the crew reloads the weapon as part of the attack, ready to fire again on the next command. If the result is less than the weapon's reload score, the reload action as an attack is equal to, if the result is less than the weapon's reload score, the reload action, which can be taken as an action or a reaction that we looked at up on the chart above, must be used to command the crew to reload the weapon before it can fire again. So if I have a fighter and I take the attack action and I botch the command roll, I can't fire that ballista weapon again until I expend action economy, either an additional attack or a reaction, which could also be a bonus, because I could use a bonus action or the attack action to issue an attack command. I could either use an attack action, a bonus action, or my reaction to issue the reload order so that they could reload the weapon. So my fighter could issue the command to attack, botches the command. I can now use my reaction to reload the weapon, and then fire again using my second attack. If that attack hits, I could potentially use my bonus action to have that crew fire again. Or if that botches, I could use my bonus action to then reload that weapon so I don't have to burn any action economy next turn. Or if I have a sidekick with me or another character, like if my fighter is commanding and I have a bard sidekick next to me or whatever, that other character could then use their bonus action, attack action, or reaction to order that crew to reload the weapon. But now that bard has become the commander of that siege crew and is going to work off of that other character's action economy. So that's the quick skinny. So for example, a trebuchet has a base reload score of 7. If the result of the command die is 6 or less, the crew doesn't automatically reload, and the commander must use the reload action to command the team to ready the weapon to fire again. And depending on the size of the weapon, the damage that the weapon deals is generally correlating with the reload score. So a ballista does D4 times 10 piercing damage, has a reload score of 3. A mangonel has a D6 times 10 bludgeoning damage, its reload score is 5. A trebuchet does D8 times 10 bludgeoning damage, has a reload score of 7, which of course means that it's impossible for you to automatically reload a trebuchet unless you're rolling a D8 and you roll a 7 or 8 on that die. Otherwise, you're going to have to be spending action economy to reload the trebuchet, which makes sense. Trebuchets are really fucking big. And then gift giant cannons, they do 2d8 times 10 bludgeoning damage, which is twice that of the trebuchet. Not surprising, the reload score is twice that of the trebuchet, 14. It's virtually impossible, unless you have some sort of bonuses going for you. It is impossible for a character to reload and fire a gift cannon twice in the same turn. unless you're expending extra action economy to make it work. There you go. So those are those basic rules. So the Inspiring Commander, you're going to roll your command die, and if you spend if you do spend an inspiration die, you can add that to your command check. Either the result of the inspiration die or the command die, if either one of those hit the reload score, you reloaded. Congratulations. And then at 14th level, reliable commands. When you make a command check, you can choose to replace the results of your command die with your proficiency bonus number. So when you result of a command die, when you make a command check, so instead of rolling like at 14th level, we're going to be rolling a d10, and I'd have a +5 proficiency bonus. Instead of rolling the command die, I become reliable. Kind of like a rogue's reliable talent ability. You can take 10 instead of rolling a d20. Let's see. You can choose to replace the result of your command die with your proficiency bonus number. You can use this feature once, regaining it when you finish a short or long rest. Alternatively, you can expend a bardic die to regain this feature. No action required. So I can effectively choose to roll at this 14th level. I can just choose to get a +5 bonus with your proficiency bonus number. I need to make a notation about this. Potentially, you can choose to replace the result of your command die. When you make a command check, you can choose to replace the result of your command die with your proficiency bonus number. This counts towards this number. This number also determines. How do I want to word that? When you make a command check, you can choose to replace the result of your command die with your proficiency bonus number, potentially changing a failed reload score into a success, period. In addition to potentially changing a miss or failed reload score. Changing a miss or failed reload into success. That's the word I wanted to use, period. You can use this feature once, regaining it when you finish a short or long rest. Alternatively, you can expend a bardic inspiration die to regain this feature. That feels pretty balanced. Hey, we did it. We successfully updated and converted both the Barbarian and Bard subclasses to 5e24 using current 5e24 language, mechanics, and structure. We already resolved the Artificer on Tuesday, and my lunch is over. Perfect timing. We're 54 minutes in. I've got an hour lunch. It's time for me to kick on out of here. I'm going to be out for the weekend. I'll be on my Discord server link down below hopefully doing some playtesting this weekend for martial powers, either running in a 8th level Mugga dungeon or potentially making Mage Tower athletes for Strixhaven to test the martial power and mana system. When we come back on Monday, we'll be back Monday morning, continuing work on the Eberron Adventure artwork. And Monday night, we'll be back in, and we're going to continue working on translating the combat chapter for the Spelljammer Combat Exploration document. Continuing, it's 36 pages, so I doubt I'll get it finished Monday night, but we can potentially get through a good chunk of it. We're going through the document and looking at what language has changed from 2014 to 2024 that will affect the mechanics that we built for Spelljammer. So we'll be doing, that's what we'll be doing Monday night. Monday morning is going to be more Eberron art. Tuesday next week, we'll be working on the Cleric and the Druid subclasses in this document. All this stuff is linked down here. There's a full free preview of the Spelljammer book that we've been looking at, which is linked here on the DMsGuild. It comes with over 100 tokens, ship, map, assets, all the stuff that you need for Light of Xeraxis as well. And then here is the playtest document that we were using today. And down here is the real prize, the Warforged Machines document, which takes these mechanics that we're using for Spelljammer Combat Exploration and converting them into a Gundam Veritech mecha system that we can use against mega kaiju of like 500 feet to hundreds of miles in size, depending on how you want to scale it. So these are the things that we're planning on working on for the first half of 2026 to get the Spelljammer subclasses and the Warforged Machines books published. Check this stuff out. If you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 600 right now. I would love your support if I've earned it. And be welcome to join my Discord or drop comments down below. Ask me anything. I'm happy to help make sense of these things if you need support. So I'll see you guys on Monday. Cheers.